The Discovery. The spaceship Horizon drifted silently through the cold, dark expanse of space. Inside, the crew of 5 was focused on their mission, exploring uncharted regions for new planets and signs of life. Captain James Reeves sat in his chair, staring at the holographic map of nearby systems. The ship's AI had been scanning for anything unusual, but so far, the journey had been uneventful. That changed when a faint distress signal appeared on their radar. "Captain, we're picking up something," said Maya, the ship's communications officer. She adjusted her headset, her brow furrowing. "It's weak, but it's definitely a signal. Coordinates are an icy planet just ahead." Reeves leaned forward. "An icy planet? What's its classification?" "Uninhabitable," replied Zane, the ship's scientist. He tapped a few buttons on his console, bringing up the planet's details. "Surface temperatures are far below freezing. No atmosphere capable of supporting life. It's just a frozen wasteland." The crew exchanged skeptical looks. What could possibly be sending a signal from a place like that? Could it be a malfunction? Some old piece of tech buried in the ice? Asked Karen, the ship's engineer. "Maybe," Reeves said, "but we can't ignore it. If someone or something needs help, it's our duty to check." "We're already behind schedule," Zane pointed out. "Stopping here could delay us further." Reeves shot him a stern look. "We're explorers, Zane, not timekeepers. Set a course for the signal." The Horizon descended toward the icy planet, its thrusters glowing against the endless white surface below. The closer they got, the more the signal grew stronger. Maya worked quickly, triangulating its exact location. It led them to a massive glacier in the planet's southern hemisphere. The ship's scanners pinpointed the signal source, a small object buried deep beneath the ice. "It's definitely not natural," Karen said, studying the readings. "It looks like some kind of capsule or pod." Reeves nodded. "All right, gear up. We're going down." The crew suited up in thermal gear and descended to the planet's surface in a small landing pod. The air outside was bitterly cold, and the wind howled like a living creature. Frost instantly formed on their helmets as they stepped out, their boots crunching against the ice. The signal led them to a smooth, flat section of the glacier. Karen set up a laser drill, and the crew watched as it began cutting through the thick ice. The process was slow, and the tension grew with every passing minute. "Whatever's down there has been here for a long time," Zane muttered, his breath fogging up his helmet. "The ice layers suggest it's been buried for decades, maybe even centuries." "Then how is it still transmitting a signal?" Maya asked. "That's what we're here to find out," Reeves said. Finally, the laser drill hit something solid. Karen turned off the machine and carefully removed chunks of ice until the object was fully visible. It was a sleek, metallic capsule about the size of a small car. Strange symbols were etched into its surface, glowing faintly with an eerie blue light. "That's not human," Karen whispered. "No kidding," Zane replied. "This material doesn't match any known alloys. It's something completely alien." Reeves stepped closer, examining the capsule. "Is it safe to open?" Karen hesitated. "The structure seems stable, but there's no telling what's inside. It could be dangerous." "We didn't come all this way to turn back now," Reeves said. "Let's do it." Using specialized tools, Karen carefully worked on the capsule's seal. The air was thick with anticipation as the crew stood ready, their hands on their weapons just in case. When the seal finally broke, the capsule hissed as freezing vapor poured out. Inside, a figure lay motionless. It was humanoid but clearly not human. The being's skin was pale and almost translucent, with faint blue veins visible beneath the surface. Its face was delicate, with sharp features and closed eyes. It wore a sleek, silver suit that seemed designed for survival in extreme conditions. "Is it alive?" Maya asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Zane scanned the figure with his handheld device. "Barely. Its vital signs are weak. But they're there. This thing is in some kind of stasis." Reeves frowned. We need to get it aboard the ship. If it's alive, we can't just leave it here. What if it's dangerous? Karen said. We have no idea what we're dealing with. That's a risk I'm willing to take, Reeves replied firmly. We're explorers, remember. It's our job to help. With great care, the crew lifted the alien out of the capsule and carried it back to the landing pod. The being was light, almost weightless, as if it had adapted to a lower gravity environment. They placed it on a stretcher and secured it before taking off. As the pod ascended, Maya glanced back at the capsule, now abandoned on the icy surface. Do you think there's more of them down there? Let's focus on saving this one first, Reeves said. Whatever happens next, we'll face it together. The crew returned to the horizon, the alien now in their care. But as they prepared to stabilize it, the ship's alarms suddenly blared. Captain, Maya shouted, we've got an incoming ship, unknown origin. Reeves's heart sank. Looks like we're not alone after all. And with that, the horizon was thrust into a situation far more dangerous than they had anticipated. The stranger. The medical bay of the horizon was quiet except for the soft hum of the machines monitoring the alien's vitals. The crew stood in a semicircle around the examination table, watching the being as though it might wake up at any moment. Captain Reeves kept his arms crossed, his sharp eyes flicking between the alien and Zane, who was hunched over a console. What do we know so far? Reeves finally broke the silence. Zane sighed, pushing his glasses higher up his nose. Well, its biology is fascinating, to say the least. It's humanoid but far more advanced. Its cells seem to repair themselves at an accelerated rate, but whatever happened to it? Maybe the cold. It's shutting down. So, it's dying? Maya asked, her voice unusually soft. She was usually calm, but there was something about the alien that made her uneasy, as if it were hiding some secret. For now, yes, Zane replied. If we don't act fast, it won't make it through the night. Reeves nodded. Do what you need to do. Keep it alive. Karen, the engineer, tapped her fingers against the console. I still think this is a mistake. We don't know what it is. What if it's dangerous? What if it's infected with something we can't cure? That's a possibility, Reeves admitted, but this thing sent out a distress signal. It's asking for help. Until it proves otherwise, we're treating it as a survivor, not a threat. As if on cue, the alien's eyes fluttered open. The pale, crystalline irises darted around the room, wide with confusion and fear. The crew froze, unsure of what to do. It's awake, Maya whispered, taking an instinctive step back. The alien tried to sit up but collapsed back onto the table, its breathing ragged. It opened its mouth, emitting a string of sounds, clicks, hums, and something almost like a whisper. It was speaking, but the words were incomprehensible. Zane activated the ship's universal translator, which began working to decode the alien's language. Give it a second. If we're lucky, we might get something coherent. The alien's gaze locked onto Reeves. Its lips trembled as it struggled to form words. Finally, a single strained phrase emerged, distorted slightly by the translator. Please, help. The room fell silent. Even Karen, who had been the most skeptical, seemed moved by the desperation in its voice. Maya stepped forward cautiously, her usual bravery returning. She reached out a hand, palm up, in a gesture of peace. We're here to help, she said slowly. You're safe. The alien stared at her hand, then at each of the crew members, as if assessing whether they were friend or foe. Finally, it raised a trembling hand and placed it in Maya's. Its skin was cold and smooth, almost like glass. Zane checked his monitor. Its vitals are stabilizing. That's surprising. Whatever it is, I think it's starting to trust us. Before anyone could respond, the ship's AI interrupted. Captain, an unidentified vessel is approaching at high speed. Estimated arrival in 10 minutes. Reeves's head snapped up. What? Can you identify it? Negative, the AI replied. Its design does not match any known human or allied configurations. Karen muttered a curse under her breath. This can't be a coincidence. The alien on the table suddenly tensed, its hand gripping Maya's tightly. It looked up at Reeves and spoke again, its voice trembling with urgency. This time, the translator worked faster. Danger. They come. For me. Reeves's stomach sank. Whoever they weren't coming for a friendly chat. He turned to Karen. Prepare the ship for evasive maneuvers. Zane, keep the alien stable. Maya, stay here in case it tries to communicate more. What are you going to do? Maya asked. Reeves's jaw tightened. I'm going to make sure whoever's coming doesn't get the chance to hurt us, or our guest. As the crew scrambled to their stations, the alien watched them with a mixture of fear and hope. Reeves couldn't shake the feeling that they were about to become entangled in something far bigger than they had bargained for. And for the first time, he wasn't sure they'd make it out alive. The chase. The horizon tore through the icy void of space, its engines roaring as Captain Reeves pushed them to their limit. Behind them, the alien vessel loomed, sleek and deadly, its dark silhouette cutting through the starlit backdrop. On the bridge, tension crackled like static electricity. They're gaining on us, Karen shouted from the engineering console, her fingers flying over the controls. I don't know how, but their ship is faster. Reeves clenched his fists around the armrests of his captain's chair. Divert all power to the engines. We just need to stay ahead long enough to figure out what they want. Zane glanced nervously at the alien woman strapped into the co-pilot's seat. She was visibly trembling, her pale skin glistening with sweat. Her wide, crystalline eyes darted between the glowing displays and the approaching enemy ship. She's terrified, Maya said softly, kneeling beside the alien. Do you know them? Are they after you? The alien's hand shook as she clutched the sides of the seat. Her voice came out strained but clearer than before, thanks to the ship's translator. Yes. They hunt me. If they catch me, you die too. The words sent a chill through the crew, but Reeves didn't flinch. Well, that's not happening. Not today. Karen scoffed. Easier said than done. They're powering up some kind of weapon. If they fire. The ship shuddered violently as a bright blue beam grazed the hull, setting off a chorus of alarms. Sparks rained from a nearby console, and the lights flickered. They're not just firing to scare us, Zane yelled. One direct hit, and we're done. Captain, the ship's AI interrupted, its tone calm despite the chaos. Enemy vessel is attempting to disable our engines. Recommend evasive maneuvers. Reeves shot out of his chair, gripping the controls himself. Hold on to something. This is going to get rough. The horizon veered sharply to the left, narrowly avoiding another blast. The alien woman let out a startled cry, her knuckles white as she clung to the seat. Maya placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. You're safe here, Maya said, her voice steady despite the panic around her. We won't let them take you. The alien hesitated, then looked at Maya with an expression that was almost grateful. You're kind. Strange. Why help me? Maya smiled faintly. It's what we do. Humans don't leave people behind. Before the alien could respond, Karen shouted from her station. Captain, they're locking onto us again. We need to do something, or we're toast. Reeves's mind raced. They were outmatched in speed and firepower, but he had one advantage: unpredictability. Prepare for an emergency jump. Plot a random course. Random, Karen balked. We could end up in a star, or worse. Better than ending up dead here, Reeves shot back. Do it. As Karen frantically programmed the coordinates, the alien woman suddenly leaned forward. Her trembling hand reached for the navigation console, inputting a sequence of commands faster than anyone could follow. What are you doing? Reeves demanded. Trust me, she said, her voice firmer this time. I know where we can go. Safe place. The crew exchanged uncertain glances, but Reeves didn't argue. They were out of options, and if the alien had a plan, it was better than nothing. Fine. Everyone brace yourselves. The enemy ship fired again, this time striking the hull directly. The horizon groaned under the impact, and the lights dimmed. Karen screamed, "Engines at critical. If we don't jump now." "Do it." Reeves barked. Karen slammed the activation switch, and the ship lurched forward as the stars outside stretched into streaks of light. The jump drive roared to life, propelling them into hyperspace just as another blast narrowly missed them. For a moment, there was nothing but silence. The crew sat frozen, catching their breath. The alien woman leaned back in her seat, her eyes closing in exhaustion. "We made it," Zane said, almost in disbelief. "We're alive." "Barely," Karen muttered, running a diagnostic on the damaged systems. "That last hit fried half our sensors and weakened the hull. We can't take another beating like that." Reeves turned to the alien woman. "You said you knew a safe place. Where exactly are we going?" The woman opened her eyes, her expression unreadable. "A place they cannot follow. But you must be ready. It is different." "Different how?" Maya asked. The alien didn't answer. Instead, she looked out the viewport, her gaze distant. "You saved me. Now I must save you." The cryptic response hung in the air, filling the crew with unease. Reeves sat back in his chair, his mind already racing with questions. What kind of danger had they gotten themselves into? And more importantly, would they survive it? A desperate gamble. The dim light of the horizon's medical bay flickered as the alien woman sat upright for the first time since they found her. Her recovery had been slow, but her determination seemed stronger than her fragile body. Captain Reeves stood nearby, his arms crossed, watching her carefully. "You're saying they're hunting you because of this?" Reeves asked, gesturing toward her. The alien nodded, her crystalline eyes glinting in the faint light. "They destroyed my home. My people, all gone. I am the last." The words hung heavy in the air. Maya, who had been silently tending to the alien's wounds, finally spoke. "But why? What could they want from you?" The alien hesitated, as if weighing how much to reveal. Then, with a trembling hand, she pressed a small device embedded in the collar of her suit. A holographic projection appeared in the air, showing a complex, glowing object made of intertwining energy and metal. "This is why," she said. "My people called it the Nexus Core. It is a source of infinite power, clean, stable, no harm to any life." Karen leaned forward, her mouth agape. "Infinite power. That's impossible." "Not impossible," the alien replied, her tone sharp. "Our scientists created it to heal worlds, to save dying civilizations, but others saw it differently. They saw a weapon." Zane furrowed his brow. "And you're saying this Nexus Core is somehow connected to you?" The alien placed her hand over her chest. "It is within me. My body carries the code. Without it, the core cannot function. That is why they hunt me, to take the core and turn it into something terrible." The room fell into a stunned silence. Reeves paced, his mind racing. He had led his crew into plenty of dangerous situations before, but this felt different. This wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about something far bigger. "So let me get this straight," Karen said, breaking the silence. "You're a walking key to the universe's most powerful energy source, and the guys chasing us want to use it to blow up planets. Great. No pressure." Reeves ignored her sarcasm. "If this Nexus Core is as powerful as you say, we can't let it fall into their hands. But if they catch us, they will take it by force." The alien interrupted, her voice trembling. "And if they do, many will die. Not just your kind. All kinds." Reeves stopped pacing and looked at her directly. "What about destroying it? If it's that dangerous, shouldn't we?" "No," the alien said, her voice rising in panic. Destroying the core would release its energy. It would burn everything. Karen threw her hands up. So we can't use it, can't destroy it, and can't let it fall into enemy hands. Fantastic. Reeves turned back to the alien. You said there was a place we could go. A safe place. What did you mean? The alien hesitated, her hands clenching tightly. There is a sanctuary, far from here. Hidden. My people built it as a last resort. If we reach it, the core can be locked away. Forever. And they won't be able to follow us there. Zane asked. They will try, she admitted. But the sanctuary is protected. Only I can enter. It is our last hope. Maya stepped forward. Then we have to go. If this core is as important as you say, it's worth the risk. It's not that simple, Karen cut in. The ship's damaged, we're low on fuel, and their tech is light years ahead of ours. Even if we set course for this sanctuary, there's no guarantee we'll make it. Reeves stared at the holographic projection, his mind working through the impossible odds. He had always been a gambler, trusting his instincts in the face of danger. This time, the stakes were higher than ever. We don't have a choice, he said finally. If we stay here, they'll catch us. If we run, at least we have a chance. Karen sighed. A slim chance. Better than none, Reeves replied. He turned to the alien. Input the coordinates. We'll get you to this sanctuary. The alien nodded, her trembling fingers working quickly on the console. The ship's navigation system lit up, displaying a distant, uncharted sector. As the crew prepared for the journey, the ship's AI interrupted. Captain, multiple enemy vessels detected on long-range scanners. Estimated time to contact, 20 minutes. Reeves clenched his jaw. They found us. Great, Karen muttered. We're outnumbered, outgunned, and running on fumes. What's the plan, Captain? Reeves's eyes narrowed. We fight, just long enough to make the jump. Everyone, get to your stations. The alien woman grabbed Reeves's arm, her expression pleading. You risk much. For me. Why? Reeves looked at her, his voice steady. Because that's what humans do. We protect those who can't protect themselves. As the enemy ships closed in, the crew of the Horizon braced for the fight of their lives. The sanctuary was their only hope, but reaching it would require a desperate gamble, one that could cost them everything. The language of compassion. The Horizon floated in the stillness of space, its battered hull glowing faintly under the light of distant stars. Inside the ship, the crew worked tirelessly to repair the damage from the recent battle. Sparks flew as Karen welded a broken panel, her face set in determined frustration. We barely made it out alive, Karen grumbled, wiping sweat from her forehead. Another hit like that, and we'll be space dust. Captain Reeves stood nearby, watching Zane scan the alien woman. Her fragile body lay on the medical bed, connected to wires and monitors. Despite the odds, she had survived the ordeal, but just barely. How is she? Reeves asked, his voice low. Zane sighed, shaking his head. She's stable, but her body is running on reserves. Whatever energy her kind relies on, she's almost out of it. Reeves frowned. Can we do anything? Not unless you've got a spare supply of alien life force lying around, Zane muttered. She needs time to recover. Suddenly, the alien's eyes fluttered open. She looked around, disoriented, before locking eyes with Reeves. Her voice was weak but clear, the translator doing its best to heap up. You saved me, she whispered. Reeves nodded. That's what we do. But we need your help now. If we're going to reach this sanctuary, we need to know more. What's waiting for us there? The alien hesitated, as if weighing whether to trust them. Finally, she sat up with great effort, her hands trembling. The sanctuary is not just a place. It is a test. A test. Maya asked, stepping closer. What kind of test? The sanctuary's defenses are ancient, the alien explained. They respond only to those who show compassion, sacrifice, It was designed to protect life, not destroy it. If you do not pass the test, the gates will not open. Karen snorted, crossing her arms. Great, so now we have to prove we're good people while being hunted by alien death ships. Perfect. It's not just about being good, the alien said, her voice growing steadier. The sanctuary will test your intentions, your unity. If you fail, it will see you as a threat. Reeves exchanged glances with his crew. They had been through countless dangers together, but this was something new, something deeply personal. We've come this far, he said firmly. We'll pass your test. The alien smiled faintly, her crystalline eyes shimmering. You are different. Humans, strange. You fight for each other, even when it is hard. My people, they did not always understand this. Maya knelt beside the alien, her expression gentle. What happened to your people? The alien looked away, her shoulders slumping. We forgot what it meant to care for one another. We built the core to save others, but we lost ourselves. We became divided. That is why I am the last. I do not want this to happen to you. The weight of her words settled over the room. Reeves took a deep breath. It won't. As long as we're breathing, we'll protect each other. And you. Before anyone could respond, the ship's AI interrupted. Captain, an energy surge has been detected. Scanners indicate an anomaly ahead. Reeves straightened. On screen, the main display lit up, showing a swirling field of light and shadow. A massive, shimmering barrier stretching across the void. The alien's eyes widened. The sanctuary, she whispered. It is here. Karen frowned, studying the redouts. That's it? It doesn't look very welcoming. It is not meant to be, the alien replied. You must approach with care. The sanctuary will test you before you can enter. Reeves turned to his crew. You heard her. Get ready. We're about to see what this test is all about. As the ship approached the shimmering barrier, the air on the horizon grew tense. The crew watched in silence as the light began to shift, forming strange patterns that seemed almost alive. The alien closed her eyes, her breathing steady but shallow. Do not fight it, she said softly. It will see your hearts. Trust each other. The horizon passed through the barrier, and the ship was suddenly bathed in light. The crew gasped as the walls around them seemed to dissolve, replaced by visions of their own memories. Their triumphs, their failures, their deepest fears. What is this? Maya whispered, her voice trembling. The test, the alien replied, her voice faint. It will know who you truly are. Reeves clenched his fists, his mind racing. Whatever the sanctuary wanted from them, he was determined to prove that humanity was worth saving. They had come too far to fail now. And as the light grew brighter, Reeves made a silent vow. No matter what the test revealed, he would not let his crew, or their new alien companion, fall. The final stand. The horizon emerged from the shimmering barrier, and the view ahead left the crew in stunned silence. A massive structure floated in the void, an intricate lattice of light and stone that seemed alive. The sanctuary pulsed with a faint rhythmic glow, as though it were breathing. This is it, the alien woman whispered. Her voice was weak, but her eyes were filled with awe. The sanctuary of my people. Reeves leaned forward, studying the holographic display. It's massive. Karen, what are we seeing? Karen's fingers flew over the console, her expression shifting from confusion to amazement. It's unlike anything I've ever seen. This isn't just a structure, it's a living machine. The energy readings are off the charts. Zane squinted at the screen. Living machine? How is that even possible? The alien woman turned to them, her voice steady despite her frailty. The sanctuary was designed to protect the core at all costs. It will judge us, but it will not harm us, unless we bring violence. Maya's gaze flicked to the display showing the enemy ships just outside the barrier. What happens if they get through? They will not survive, the alien said simply. The sanctuary will destroy them. But if they attack, it will close forever and the core will be lost. Reeves's jaw tightened. Then we have to act fast. How do we get inside? The alien hesitated, then placed a trembling hand on the console. A soft, melodic hum filled the air as the sanctuary responded. Lights on the structure began to shift, forming a path toward a central chamber. "You must take me to the heart," she said. "There, I will merge with the sanctuary. It will. Take the core from me." "Take the core?" Zane asked, alarmed. "What happens to you?" The alien's gaze dropped. "I will not survive." The words hit the crew like a punch to the chest. Maya stepped forward, shaking her head. "There has to be another way." "You can't." "There is no other way." The alien interrupted, her voice firm. "This is my purpose. My people gave their lives to create the core. If my sacrifice can save others, it is worth it." Reeves exhaled sharply, his mind racing. "We don't leave people behind. We'll find another way." "There is no time," the alien said, her voice softening. "The enemy is coming. If they reach the barrier, everything will be lost." Before anyone could argue further, the ship's AI chimed in. "Captain, multiple enemy vessels have breached the outer perimeter. Estimated time to sanctuary, 3 minutes. Reeves slammed his fist against the console. "Karen, Zane, get the ship ready to defend. Maya, you're with me. We're taking her to the heart." The alien woman smiled faintly. "Thank you." The journey through the sanctuary was like walking through a dream. The walls shimmered with light, shifting and pulsing in response to their presence. The alien woman guided them with unsteady steps, her hand resting on Maya's shoulder for support. "It knows you are here," she said. "It is watching." "Watching for what?" Maya asked. "Your intentions," the alien replied. "If you carry hatred or greed, it will reject you." Reeves glanced over his shoulder. "Then we better hope we're good enough." Behind them, the horizon hovered near the entrance, its weapons primed as enemy ships began to close in. Karen's voice crackled over the comms. "Captain, they're not holding back. We're outnumbered 10-1. "Just buy us time," Reeves replied. "We're almost there." The central chamber was a vast, circular space filled with swirling energy. At its center was a pedestal surrounded by glowing runes. The alien woman stepped forward, her movements slow and deliberate. "This is the heart," she said. "When I step onto the pedestal, it will begin." Maya grabbed her arm. "Wait. Are you sure? There has to be another way." The alien placed a hand over Maya's. "You showed me what it means to care for others. I will carry that with me. But this is the only way." Tears welled in Maya's eyes, but she nodded, stepping back. Reeves stood by, his jaw clenched. He hated feeling powerless, but he knew there was no stopping her. The alien stepped onto the pedestal, and the room lit up with blinding energy. Her body began to glow, the core within her reacting to the sanctuary. The air was filled with a deep, resonant hum that shook the walls. Outside, the enemy ships fired relentlessly at the barrier. The sanctuary responded with bursts of light, disintegrating the attackers one by one. But more kept coming. "We're out of time," Karen shouted over the comms. "We can't hold them off much longer." Inside the chamber, the alien's body began to dissolve into pure energy, merging with the sanctuary. Her voice echoed in their minds, calm and resolute. "It is done. The core is safe. Thank you for showing me humanity." The light intensified, and then, just as suddenly, it was gone. The alien woman was no more. The sanctuary pulsed brightly, its power restored. Outside, the remaining enemy ships were obliterated in a final surge of energy. Reeves and Maya stood in silence, staring at the empty pedestal. Maya wiped her eyes, her voice trembling. She didn't deserve this. "No," Reeves agreed, "but she chose it, and because of her, the core is safe." As they made their way back to the horizon, the sanctuary sealed itself behind them, its glow fading into the void. The crew had survived, but the weight of their loss was heavy. She was more human than most of us, Reeves said quietly as they prepared to leave, and we'll make sure her sacrifice wasn't in vain. The horizon turned away from the sanctuary, heading back into the vast unknown. Humanity had gained an ally's legacy and a reminder that even in the darkest times, compassion could light the way. The power of compassion. The horizon floated in the vast, silent expanse of space, the sanctuary now a faint, distant glow behind them. Inside the ship, the crew gathered in the observation bay, the weight of what had just transpired pressing down on them like gravity. For a moment, no one spoke. The loss of the alien woman, their guide, their unexpected ally, hung heavy in the air. She saved us, Maya said quietly, her voice breaking the silence. She was staring out the viewport, her eyes fixed on the sanctuary's fading light. She saved everyone, and she didn't even hesitate. Reeves leaned against the wall, his arms crossed, his expression unreadable. She made a choice, he said. She believed in something bigger than herself, bigger than us. Karen, seated nearby with a datapad, sighed heavily. I still don't know how we explain this to anyone back home. Hey, we met an alien who carried the key to infinite power, and she sacrificed herself to protect it. They'll think we've lost our minds. Let them think what they want, Zane muttered, rubbing his temples. We know the truth. That's what matters. The room fell silent again until the ship's AI interrupted. Captain, a message has been received. Origin, unknown. Language, compatible with recently translated dialect. The crew exchanged startled glances. Play it, Reeves ordered. The room filled with a soft, melodic hum that evolved into a voice. Calm, serene, and unmistakably alien. It was her. Humans of the horizon, the voice began. If you are hearing this, then I have succeeded. The core is safe, and the sanctuary will remain hidden. But I could not let my end come without leaving you this message. The crew leaned closer, transfixed by the sound of her words. You showed me something my people had forgotten, she continued. Compassion, sacrifice, the power of unity. These are not weaknesses, as some believe. They are your greatest strength. Maya wiped a tear from her cheek, her throat tight. She really believed in us. The voice paused, as if the alien herself were gathering her thoughts, even beyond death. I leave this message not as a farewell, but as a reminder. Protect each other. Fight for what is right, not what is easy. And when the darkness comes, let your compassion be the light that guides you. The message ended, leaving the room in a stunned silence. For a moment, no one moved, the weight of her words settling over them like a blanket. Then Karen broke the silence with a bitter laugh. She gave her life to save the universe, and she's still teaching us how to be better. Reeves straightened, his expression resolute. And we're not going to let her down. She believed in us, for a reason. We've got to live up to that. Zane nodded. She trusted us with the core, with her people's legacy. That's not something we can take lightly. We won't, Maya said, her voice firm. We'll make sure her sacrifice wasn't in vain. As the crew dispersed, Reeves lingered by the viewport, staring into the endless void. The alien's words echoed in his mind, a constant reminder of the responsibility they now carried. The next few days were spent repairing the ship and charting a course back to human-controlled space. The enemy vessels were gone, destroyed by the sanctuary's defenses, but the crew knew this was only the beginning. The core's existence, and the secret they now protected, would make them a target for anyone willing to exploit its power. In the quiet of the medical bay, Maya placed a small, glowing shard, the only piece of the alien's vessel they had salvaged, on a shelf. It was a simple gesture, but it felt significant, like preserving a piece of her legacy. She'd want us to keep going, Maya said softly as Reeves entered the room. She would, Reeves agreed. And we will. But we're going to do it on our terms. Maya smiled faintly. "What's next, Captain?" Reeves glanced at the glowing shard, then back at her. "We keep exploring, keep learning, and we make sure that no one forgets what she did. For us, for everyone." The Horizon powered up its engines, its battered hull glinting under the light of distant stars. As it disappeared into the void, the sanctuary's faint glow flickered one last time. A quiet acknowledgement, perhaps, or a final goodbye. And though they left the sanctuary behind, the alien woman's message stayed with them, etched into their hearts like a guiding star. In the end, it wasn't technology or power that had saved them. It was compassion, the very thing that made them human.